I want to ask you about two teams. I asked you about the Washington wide receivers last week. The first team I want to ask you about is my very own Jets, Jets. They get a comeback victory after an onside kick, and there's really kind of a three-headed monster in New York, right? We got the rookie Garrett Wilson, we got the second-year guy Elijah Moore, and we have Corey Davis, who's kind of like Old Faithful. He's the one who gets the big bomb touchdown. How do you see this breaking out? If you had the opportunity to snap up a Jets wide receiver, yes, I'm going to say that again. If you had an opportunity to snap up a Jets wide receiver and think that that's the most prudent decision, which one do you go for?
Sure. I am going to go for Garrett Wilson 100%. I mean, he is 22% rostered right now. I think he should be 100% rostered. And I think he is worthy of either that top claim or a premium fab bid, if that is how your waivers work. I mean, he's making the legitimate case to be the number one, both in the rookie class and the Jets offense at this point. He had a decent game in week one. I will say he looked very athletic and great in week one. 52 yards in week one, and then week two just comes back and actually just blows everyone away. 8 catches on 14 targets for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, from the eye test, he just looks so good. So yes, to your point, it's really weird to be saying like, I want to spend all my fab on a Jets wide receiver, but he is the guy. I mean, he is the guy. He was highly obviously touted out of college. Sure. Olave too. I mean, both of them there was just such a great tandem there. A lot of people argued which one was better, but I mean, I think both of them are going to be really, really impactful right out of the gate. So, I mean, Davis is certainly someone that I think is also worth rostering. He's 14% rostered. He got that bomb touchdown, like you said, 66 yards with a minute and 22 seconds remaining in the game. So very, very crucial. I did not expect the Jets to be this scrappy at this point. And I had to watch that whole game because my boyfriend is a Browns fan.
Well, listen, I liked it. I can't be mad. I stayed away from the Cleveland Browns in Survivor this week because I couldn't root against my own team. And so, I'm actually surviving and advancing where a lot of people got banged out. I will say this, at the rookie receiver class, you in the background have a little free Kyle Pitts going on your whiteboard. And if Kyle Pitts is never freed, then Drake London may wind up as the number one rookie wide receiver this year after what we saw yesterday in Los Angeles. We also last week talked about the Washington receivers, and it seems you're going right back to the well with the rookie out of Penn State, Jahan Dotson.
Yes, I am. So Curtis Samuel was in that conversation last week too. And I know that you asked me which one would I roster, and both of them are worth rostering. Now, Samuel's rostership went from, I don't know, probably under 20% to like 70% right now. And then McLaurin's up there at 98%. So those guys are probably out of the question for most people, but Dotson's out there. He is rostered in 43% of leagues. And this week just showed me that last week was not a fluke. He caught 4 of 5 targets for 59 yards and a touchdown. Currently the wide receiver 16 heading into Monday, out targeted by Curtis Samuel. So I think that kind of shows where he is, but he's still very much capable of that big play. And Carson Wentz is not looking nearly as bad for fantasy purposes as we thought. I mean, the Commanders lost that game via defense, not necessarily offense. So, and the Commanders have a nice schedule coming up, Eagles, Cowboys, Titans. So, I mean, Dotson could sneakily be in that like wide receiver 3 conversation.
All right, fair enough. As long as Washington and Carson Wentz are still down in games and needing to play a little catch up like they were, oddly enough, in Detroit yesterday. The last team I want to ask you about, Samantha, when it comes to the wide receiver position, is Tampa Bay. Okay. I mean, we know Godwin is out for multiple weeks. We get word today that Mike Evans is going to be suspended for a game for, sticking up for his boy, Tom Brady. We also know Julio didn't make it yesterday. He may come back, but like out of these kind of next man up, I mean, Brashard Perryman, Scotty Miller, Russell Gage, who do you think winds up soaking up the usage, the target, and the fantasy potential in Tampa Bay? Because Tom Brady's going to throw the ball.
Yeah, it's now wide open, assuming there's at least going to be 2 guys missing the game next week with Evans and probably Godwin, maybe Julio, don't know. But yeah, I mean, Perriman was the only Buccaneer to find the end zone in the game. The only Buccaneer that caught a pass in the end zone in the game. But he and the others pretty much capitalized on the absence of these guys. He caught 3 of 5 targets for 45 yards and a touchdown. Gage also benefited a little bit less, but you know what? I will say that I think that Gage is probably the one that I would go for on the waivers. He is 41% rostered versus Berriman and Miller being 0% rostered. So we're looking at very different situations here. But Gage is someone that I was big on in the offseason going into the year. And I thought that he was going to be a really nice sleeper. Now I got less confident with that when Godwin's timeline got moved up and then they signed Julio. So then he kind of like took a backseat to that, but now he's looking like he's getting another opportunity here. And he's a guy that's like, no one ever thinks of him. He's like Tim Patrick. He's like not a sexy name, but he is someone that produces for fantasy year in and year out when given the opportunity. So this could be the opportunity. So I would go out and get him if you have the opportunity at 41% roster. The other two guys, a little bit more of a dart throw, I think. They're both under 1% rostered.
I'm all about Russell Gage. Listen, in the offseason, I also thought that Russell Gage was going to be sneaky as that number 3 wideout on a team where Brady would throw for 5,000 yards. But you said the Godwin timeline, and then when they signed Julio Jones, that really put a damper on it. But in some of these situations, I like to follow the money, Samantha. And, Tampa went out and signed Russell Gage. In the offseason, they thought he had a role, and I think it could be his time to shine.